Hi, welcome to Close Up. I'm Neil Grahn. This episode, we're talking to Dr. Chris Brooks. While in Canada, this is where Dr. Chris Brooks works. This simple industrial building, you wouldn't know it. It's the headquarters for Lifeline Malawi, which is a small organization with huge repercussions in Malawi. It's an honor to talk to Dr. Chris Brooks. Are we all good to go then? Excellent. Dr. Brooks, thanks for joining us on the show.
Neil, you're very welcome.
Now, the first question that just comes to my mind is, what possesses a rather comfortable doctor in Calgary to sell everything and just go to Malawi?
Well, I didn't sell everything. I sold quite a few things. The most important thing was my 1964 and a half white Mustang convertible.
64 and a half?
Yeah, that was a 289 stick shift. Vroom, vroom. It was fun. So that was the first thing I bought when I came to Canada in 1969.
Now,
and when I saw that, sorry, you have to wait for when I saw that being driven up the road, I knew that this was real. I was going to Africa.
Once you saw it?
Yep.
So when did you lose a tear or anything?
Yes, it was a very sad thing seeing my baby being driven off by someone else. See, it was my baby, not someone else's. But I had to sell it, just like I had to sell my house and my practice and everything else, and my golf club membership.
And why did you have to sell that?
I felt that if we were really going, and this was real, this was serious, then I had to get rid of everything, and I had to go there with determination.
And what was the
not
impetus?
Half-hearted.
What was the impetus? What made you say, you know what, I'm going to sell almost everything, and most importantly, the Mustang.
I kept my wife and my daughter.
Okay. And I saw pictures of them. You could have gotten a good price, let me say.
Oh, they're much better looking than I am.
And that's a sign that you're
and
successful.
Younger as well. So why did I go? Conviction. I had a conviction. Conviction is not very popular these days sometimes. But I had a conviction that I should do it. I'd had a great life, and a good life, which I don't regret at all, and I was very blessed, very fortunate. And I had most of it was spent in Alberta, in Banff and in Calgary. And I wanted to go and make a difference in a place in the world where people didn't have anything. And if you're asking me why I did it, that's a different question. Well, that's what I did.
And I'm asking why, because what I'm thinking of then is, how old are you?
Do I have to answer that truthfully?
I can't believe
I'll be 70 next year.
70?
Yes.
You don't look a day over 64.
Well, thanks. You should see me stand up.
So then, this was 10 years ago, right? Or 9 years ago?
Yes.
So then
The decision was made 12 years ago.
12 years ago?
Yep, that's right. Then I had to sell the practice. I had to go to England, do a course in tropical medicine. See, I didn't know anything about things like leprosy and malaria and schistosomiasis and all these things that I didn't even know how to spell them.
Yeah, I couldn't even pronounce them even after hearing them spoken.
I was just a doctor in Alberta with the usual sort of background, and a background in surgery, which is the thing that I enjoyed. But I had to go and learn these things. So I did a course in Liverpool in England for 4 months.
So what I'm trying to get is then, a 50-something-year-old doctor,
yeah.
Why? Why did you do it? And I heard conviction.
Do you want the whole story?
Well, remember, it's a TV show, so we've only got an hour.
At the age of 15, I stood up in a Bible study in my church and said, I will go and be a doctor in Africa at the age of 15, but I never did it. And I lived with that feeling of failure for many years, that I had never done what I promised God to do. I don't know if you know of anyone else who could possibly do such a thing, but that's what I did. It wasn't until I went through some great personal problems, a real crisis in my life, and it was desperate to the degree that I was on the carpet on my knees saying, God, help me. I do not know what to do, but I promise you one thing. If you get me out of this impossible situation, I will do one thing. I will do whatever you call me to do. I promise it. And I did, and I meant it. 2 years later, I had got remarried. See, I went through a divorce.
I'm going, what was the impossible situation?
It was divorce. It was my wife leaving me, and my daughter. I never saw my daughter again. Of my first marriage. You see, how can you go off and be a missionary when you've been divorced and all that stuff?
And it was just a real low
moment.
And
yet, it was as though God tapped me on the shoulder and said, it's not up to you, it's up to me. You just do what I want you to do, and I will be with you. Chris Brooks, I will never leave you. I will never forsake you. This is not your job, it's my job. My strength is made perfect in your weakness. This is what the message I got from God, so to speak. I mean, it wasn't an audible voice, but it was kind of what he was saying in my heart. And I said, all right, I will do it. I will do it. I promise you, I will do it. And I did.
So from that impossible moment then, 12 years ago, is that when that happened?
Yes, it was, yeah.
And you said, okay, and it was still from that
Well, there are a couple of other things. You see, I met I wasn't terribly keen on getting married again. I hadn't really thought about anything like that.
So a racking divorce made you a little bit shy about getting married again?
Absolutely, you bet it did. But then I met this delightful woman, Heather, who, as I say, who's so much better looking than I am. And we met and got close. And it was as though God brought us together. It was as though God gave me a chance, a second opportunity, which is one of the things that I say when people ask me that sort of question. And my reply is, failure is not final. There is never a point in your relationship with God where he says, you've had it, you screwed it up, I can't use you. Never does that happen. He always says, if you choose to walk with me now, you can do so, and I've got a couple of little jobs that I'd like you to do. So you can
always make a comeback?
Absolutely.
So when did you get married to Heather?
Heather and I got married maybe I got the dates a little bit wrong. We got married 13 years ago. This thing happened, it must have been 15 years ago now, I'm sorry. 15 years ago, Heather and I met, and then we heard the call. If you really want the whole story, we heard the call to go to Africa in church.
I do want the whole story. I do, yes.
Right.
That's why we're here.
We were in church, and there was a missionary from Africa. Heather and I were there. We'd been married and our whole life. And Heather and my wife had been divorced, and all the failure and all the desperate despair and loss of self-respect, loss of hope and everything. But we'd been brought together, and we were sitting there, and a missionary from Africa said, you know, I do believe that in this church tonight there is someone sitting here in the medical profession who God has called to Africa, but you never did it. For some reason you never did. Tonight's your moment. And I would like you just to get up, come round here, because I want to pray for you. Heather and I looked at each other. We were sitting in the third row, front, left, centre, and we looked. Most embarrassing it was, having to get up, go down the sawdust trail. I mean, doctors don't do that sort of thing.
Well, no, because doctors are so high status,
yes,
right?
But there it was. So there it is, and we collapsed on the carpet in front of the altar in tears, saying, God, I will do it. I will do it. I promise you, I will do it. And we did. But then, that was when we put into effect all the things like selling my Mustang, selling my golf club membership at Priddis, selling my practice, selling the house, 2 houses, selling everything that I had.
And that's it. And we're going to go to commercial, but when we come back, I want to talk about kind of okay. where you go from that point. You're selling everything and then heading off.
Yeah, I'll tell you.
I'm going to ask. Because I know you'll say, do you want the whole story? And then I'll go, yes, yes.
Okay, I'll tell you.
Thanks.
I may be doing wonderful things in Africa, but I am the one who's blessed. I would not change this for anything, for any money that I were to get.